Welcome to Behind the Bubbles, Episode 1, Childhood Roots and the Birth of a Vision. In this opening episode, Yvonne Seier Christensen shares the intimate story behind her journey from East Anglia to the vineyards of Champagne. From picking apples as a child to leaving behind a successful career in finance, she reveals what drove her to become a winemaker, how legacy shapes her vision, and why organic farming and quality matter deeply to her.
All right. Hello, Yvonne.
Hi, Nina.
So good to be here today with you.
Nice to see you too.
So we're recording this mini-series of podcasts where we really get the privilege of taking a deeper look into Les Hongfis and you as a winemaker as well.
I'm really excited. There's so much to talk about, and there's so much unknowns in what I've been doing and how I started and where I am today. So I'm super excited to share my journey with you.
It's such a privilege for us as well. So I was thinking we were going to start by looking a little bit into the vision. How did the idea arrive at you? How did you become sure of it? And also, what were some of the reactions and processes around building up that idea from scratch to where you are today?
Yeah, well, it's been a long journey, but it's been a great journey. A lot of hard work and a lot of thoughts. But it all started, of course, as a child. I mean, many things in your childhood is reflected in your adulthood today. Just many of us don't realize it, you see. I grew up in East Anglia. I'm actually born in London. I'm a Londoner. So I'm born in London, and I'm born from Nigerian parents who immigrated in the 40s and 50s, as they did in those days. Few years in London till I was about 5 or 6, and then we moved to East Anglia, which is northeast of England. And on that coast, I grew up on the farm. And there, my neighbours had an orchard, lots of apples. And we used to just have fun in the orchard, picking apples and playing with the idea of making apple juice as you would as a child. And so it's very familiar to me to kind of like delve into squeezing apples and creating juices and suddenly finding out that you can actually make a beverage. I mean, at such a young age, I mean, that was just like the play idea. But in reality, and if I would have known that many years ago, I would have studied agronomy, you know. But in reality, it was just something you did as a child. And as I grew up and left the countryside of East Anglia, I wanted the big city lights of London, you know. So I went into education and studied my dream. I wanted to be a diplomat, actually.
Right.
Yeah, I wanted to be a diplomat. I thought I'll work for the Commonwealth and something like that. So I studied my first degree, contemporary European studies, because I should be a diplomat. You know, you have some that want to be doctors. You know, you never know. Some people don't even know what they want to be. But I had this idea. And then later on in life, I found out that I wanted to be a winemaker.
Right. And that idea, it came to you, you can say, after already have had one very, very successful career in finance. That idea suddenly arrived to you. I wouldn't say suddenly. Now that you have laid out a little bit more of your background, it's really fascinating to hear how these early childhood memories are kind of rooted that deeply within you, and something that you had an urge returning to. Because not everybody wished to return to that later in life, right?
Yeah.
So it must have been good memories, I suppose.
Yeah, it was really good. I mean, the thing is, right, it's all about the soil. And, you know, you do as you do. You play in the garden, you grab a handful of soil. And I've always had the appreciation about, you know, the earth. I'm quite, how do I say, holistic kind of person. You know, those memories of playing in nature, it's a gift from God. Mother Earth is something that we all need to take pretty seriously these days. Hence, I farm organically. But after the big city lights, and during that process, you know, together with my family and what my family does as a business, we went into food and wine, or food and drinks go together. So this whole gastronomy journey that we've been through brought me closer to wine, and brought me closer to the idea of wanting to actually be further educated.
Right.
You know?
That's so interesting that you suddenly, like, you take one field and it gives you a new angle to something you actually have deep within you there. So what made you sure, like the final step, now I want to do wine? What happened? When did you know with yourself that was what you wanted to do?
There's always a purpose in life, and it was my children. I wanted to create a legacy for my 5 girls. Why not? And you can create a legacy in many different industries, but because my love of wine, winemaking, obviously champagne, was the ultimate goal. But you have to start somewhere, and you need to understand wines. So it's for my children, my 5 girls.
So it has definitely a higher purpose in that sense. And do you hope to see them take it over one day?
That's a good question. It's a really good question. I mean, it's nothing that I'm pressing for right this moment. And also, when you build a legacy, it could also be passed on to the next generation. It's generational. Exactly how the French, vignerons today are experiencing, the ones that hear.
That requires a lot of patience to have that philosophy.
Yeah.
Are you normally like a patient person?
No.
Right.
Not at all.
Okay.
Yeah, not at all. Yeah. Everything has to be done here now with me. So, you got me there, Nina.
I'm just curious. Curious because it's so interesting that, but perhaps it definitely also says something about ambition.
Yeah.
And that just because you have something, not just, but because you have something built for the long run with the long lines of thoughts, that also means you cannot like dwell on it. You still need to act in the moment. You still need to make things happen, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, going back to the point of, having patience, and it's a little bit like champagne. Champagne takes time. When we do the harvest and we pick the grapes, I mean, it just doesn't turn into a bottle of champagne just like that. At least minimum 15 months, it needs to sit there. And even after 15 months, you can choose to leave the bottles down in the cellar as long as possible, or as long as you feel that the bottles are mature enough to be taken up and tasted and then go to market. So it's a little bit like having this legacy. It's a slow process. Do I need to see the end game of that? No, I don't. So for me, it was really important to build something from scratch, something that in mind that my children or their children's children can take over. So that also means for Champagne Le Cinq Filles, there's no exit. Everyone talks about exit. There's no exit.
Infamous exit strategy.
Yeah, there's no exit for Champagne Le Cinq Filles now. It's definitely going to be generational, and we hope that if none of the girls pick it up, perhaps one of their kids will, and so on. And I will try to keep it in the family legacy. There's lots of paperwork that needs to be done to keep that in that position, and I will do my best to make sure that stands like that. And it's fun for them. I mean, could you imagine in 100 years from now, they'll say, wow, what a great woman, huh?
I'm sure they will. I mean,
I have no
idea. A lot of people already say it today, so
thank you,
why
Nina.
not in 100 years?
Yeah.
So we will return in a different episode to a little bit more your thoughts on the winemaking, but you said something already very interesting, so I look forward to that. But listen in another episode later.
Yeah.
So when you started, did you already have a fully formed idea about what success would mean to you in this project, or were you more taking it as you went along? How did you approach that?
I was just doing it as it comes.
Yeah.
I mean, especially as success is measured in so many different ways. I'm quite happy if someone tells me the grapes are ripe. That's a success.
That's a success.
Yeah, honestly, yeah. So, or success for some people is money, and success is happiness. I mean, success means such a... So for me, it was just about, let's just start and go along, do my best to follow the process and see what happens. And that's the most magical thing about my journey. It's just that everything has just happened.
Yeah.
And it happened also on a timely manner. There's been no real planning. I didn't plan to buy a winery, and I didn't plan to buy a vineyard in the most beautiful spot on this earth. That was not planned. It just kind of happened. I mean, an element of luck, I guess, played a big role in that find. But I think the idea of just going along and taking things day by day, suddenly things just appear. Or maybe it's just because I saw the opportunity and I took that opportunity.
I think that's a big part of it, because surely luck can play a part in our lives, but I think there's also a lot about intention, a lot about the bravery, the guts to actually put yourself in that right spot. And I'm excited to reveal a little bit more about that story later on. But I think that's definitely played a key part in your process, that you took those steps to put yourself in that spot at that time. And you didn't, you were relentless in doing it in the best possible way, right?
I'm going to completely agree with you. You're absolutely right. Yeah. And well said. Thank you.
Thank you. So your vision of having a champagne brand, being a winemaker, has that sort of vision, what you wish to achieve with it? You spoke about a legacy. Has it changed along the way you imagine a legacy, or has it remained the same?
It hasn't changed.
No.
It has remained the same. I'm still, my mantra is still the same every morning when I wake up, and also producing, and also now in the village, everything's remained the same. Could I wish it differently? No. It hasn't been easy. It's not a walk in the park, but we are where we are now, and it's great.
There's also a lot of pride to take in resistance, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's what you have been doing. Okay, there is this resistance. You know what? We're going to overcome it.
Yeah.
And then there is something to really be proud of in that.
Absolutely. Yeah. But resistance can be seen in any kind of industry. And then my previous work was working within the financial industry, and there you get a lot of disciplines. You learn a lot of disciplines. You see a lot of things. So I would nearly say that the time I worked in the financial industry, I learned a lot. So I stepped into a mature world of understanding how to work with people, how to deal with certain situations, which steps not to take and which steps to do. It's all based on my previous past, which has helped me come quicker to the goal I am now, or where I am now. It has helped me move along much quicker, opposed to if I started the champagne business 20 years ago. Oh my gosh. For sure, I would have had many more hiccups and things that came to the table that I wasn't expecting because I didn't have any kind of experience 20 years ago. So working in the banking industry has kind of primed me to take on, this next journey.
Yeah, I think that makes so much sense. And I think it's such an interesting set of skills to have approaching this industry here. And I suppose it might also have revoked some reactions, like your whole change from finance, where you were obviously doing a really great job, really successful there, and then into this. Did you experience people understanding, being supportive, or were they puzzled? What were the reactions to it?
I think more it's about, I think people were puzzled. But those that knew me very well understood that even during the period of working in the financial industry, on my off time, I was always drinking champagne. I was always drinking champagne. And I would say, 20, 30 years ago, champagne wasn't so readily available, and even if it was available, it was extremely expensive, hard to get. It was only for film stars and actors and shown on the TV and on very, very special occasions. Not as today, you could go to the store and pick up a bottle here and there and go to restaurants, and it's an immediate aperitif as you start your meal, which is a completely different ball game to today. So coming into champagne, directly after banking was the next best move for me. It was something that I enjoyed doing. Remember, as a child, I had already been dabbing with apple juice, which is so bizarre. But I had a friend, my neighbor, a little kid, God knows where they are today, but running into this orchard, picking apples, trying to make juice all the time. So I had this idea of working with something. Same as when you're pressing today in the winery with grapes. I had this idea, but I hadn't had the idea that I should have been a winemaker. That is pretty bizarre. That one, I had never, ever could foresee that I today would be a winemaker and own my own vineyards, parcel and winery. That is pretty strange. I think it is. And I think also coming from a world of people being so serious and, wear suits every day, 9 to 5. And today it's just like the opposite. There's no more 9 to 5, Not that you can get up when you want, because now you have a duty to farm. And so you've got to be prepared. You've got to have flexibility, which I had anyway. But it's a completely different ballgame. And actually, I prefer this. I prefer to be in charge of my own time. I prefer to make my own decisions. And I prefer to work my own product according to my own taste. Mm-hmm. And that taste is something that I'm trying to put out to the world today. The taste of quality, the taste of organic farming in a bottle, in a glass full of bubbles. True story.
And I believe you. No, you have like this beautiful, like bubbly personality. So there's some sort of like connection there, I suppose. And it's interesting that you're speaking about the whole, you can say, aesthetics around drinking champagne, how that has changed. Has that made you more motivated to do it?
Again, no. The motivation is the legacy from my daughters, and the legacy I'd like to leave is to build, work with, cultivate everything from quality. There's no cheat in this. What I produce has to be authentic, real, and the end game for a bottle of champagne should be quality. The taste, the aromas, the flavors have to be on par with my own thoughts of what is quality. And having the restaurants we do, I consider myself and my family quite high level in terms of what is quality, what is luxury. And I can show that quite clearly in my winemaking. So to have a product like champagne to work with is marvelous, because in my opinion, it is the ultimate quality beverage in the world. That's champagne.
Right. I think that's really fascinating, and you're very humbly saying you think you have a good quality going with the restaurants you're invested in. Just so everybody listening knows, it would be Restaurant Uranium, number one in the world in Copenhagen, and then Restaurant Alchemist, both really, really highly accoladed and respected restaurants. So just if anybody shouldn't know what the reference point was. So I'm curious to hear more about, like, how have you felt received in the wine community, both like in the wine village as well as, in the wine community in a broader sense around the globe?
Yeah, I would say there's more acceptance in France than there is globally.
Right.
No, honestly, coming into a little village, it's a little dot, it's a cute little World Heritage site village, it's got all the accolades of being how do you say that? It's got all the all the accolades of being a World Heritage site. That's how you say that. But coming into that, cobblestones, windy streets, vineyards scattered all over, you would have thought this sleepy town, you would have a lot of, sleepy people. But I can promise you they're not. They have welcomed me with arms wide open. It's been incredible. There's a couple of neighbors that peep through the curtains now and again as I pass by. They haven't figured out what's going on yet. But I would say the majority have really been very kind. When I arrived into Le Mesnil, the mayor addressed me immediately with a glass of champagne. Welcome to our village. How can I help you?
Wow.
It was really, really wonderful. And a lot of people have asked, what do you want? What are you doing here? And the question is more about how did you get there?
Right. So more curiosity than suspicion.
Yeah, more curiosity. Like I said, there's a few that still peek through the curtains. I just wave at them. And that's it. So I think in the village, locally, the people are great, very supportive, and I participate in a lot of local village activities. I do some sponsoring. I join in with the other vignerons. We do white parties in the aroma garden. We do cycling together. We do a lot. And now we're going to actually build a paddle court, which we all kind of like put our hands in our pocket and pull out some dollars or some euros or whatever the currency is at that time. But we pull out something. It doesn't have to be very much, just a contribution. So from day one, I've always been a contributor. I feel I have been liked. And I would say it wasn't until I started to produce champagne and to go onto the global markets. It was more the foreigners, the guys outside of France, the distributors, not so much the clients, but the people that should push your wines were a bit puzzled. What are you doing in this space? You're not French. Do you even speak French? I'm just like, hey, really?
Is that the point?
Yeah. So I would say that the French have been extremely good and welcomed me. The local village are wonderful. I love them, and I'm sure they love me too. But the struggles are more outside of that space. Sorry.
No worries.
I'm so sorry. That frog is back. Yeah, sorry about that. But yeah, I've had a cold some months ago, and it hasn't gone away. So yeah, excuse me. But I would say that coming out of France and touching the global market, it goes either one way or the other. You have groups of people that say, wow, are you really the first, non-French, woman of color, owning your own winery and vineyards with a negotiate manipulant license? Are you really the first? And I'm like, yeah, sure.
And that's something that you have come so naturally into the role, because I suppose when you started, you didn't assume it was going to be like that. Like you were going to be breaking a glass ceiling.
Yeah, not at all. Exactly right. Yeah, I had no idea. But again, my journey has not been planned. No. I just take it step by step. And actually, I had purposely not thought too much about it, because every day you have to take it as it comes, because you never know what's around the corner. But so far on the journey, it's just been, it's actually just been quite honestly great. I mean, after I purchased the house, it's a very small house, very old house. It's from 1879. There's no historical value in the house except that it's old. But for me, that was great because it gave me a little history.
And a sense of legacy.
Yeah. Exactly. And that was really important. But the house, apparently, it's not really permitted to use that date. Because we know when you buy into things, you buy a castle, whatever you buy with heritage, you can usually talk about it. But in this case, I cannot put the two together. But it's just okay. I'm very proud to let people know that I am a first generation winemaker. First generation winemaker.
Yeah, that's really something to wear on your sleeve.
Yeah, absolutely.
You spoke about a quality champagne, and being the diplomat that you are, you have always been so nice to say all champagne is good. But if you were kind of being honest, what makes a truly remarkable champagne to you? Like, what are you looking for?
Yeah, completely honest. Honestly, it's the terroir. It's all about where the vines are growing. I mean, you can make wine anywhere in the world, and you can use that wine base to make sparkling wine. But if you're not in the right terroir, you're not going to get the nuances and the deliciousness you get from champagne. This is why champagne is called champagne, and it can only be called champagne if it's from France. And that story, everybody needs to understand. There's too many people wanting to be champagne, but they're not. Winemakers out of France, and they always try to join the bandwagon. of, well, maybe if we can get away with it, we'll call our beverage tonight a champagne. It can never stand up to the terroir that you find, especially on the Côte de Blanc. You know, the whole of the Champagne region, 45 million years ago, well, that's going back a long time, right? Was under water. It was called, I believe, the Paris Basin. So could you imagine, my vineyard was once the bottom of the sea. And that accumulated over millions of years into a chalky, white chalk terroir. When you dig down a few centimeters, you get a handful of white, beautiful chalk, which the vines, the roots are growing from. And this is the uniqueness of Champagne. And so for me, the terroir is the first point of quality. It really is. So after we find out we have a very beautiful terroir, we've got great chalk that brings and grows great vines that brings beautiful high acidity style grapes. That's the start. That's the point of departure. Once you can have those grapes in your hands, and then you can also, during that whole process, that the grapes are growing, this whole phenological calendar has different moments of vineyard management, where we have decided to work with horses. So that's the second point of quality. Not to use a tractor with a lot of compaction on the ground, and that pushes out a lot of, exhausts, all that stuff that goes into the air that we don't really want to work with.
And it compacts the soil a lot, right?
It's too much,
Tractor,
yeah.
so.
I mean, they say, well, so does a horse, especially those big ones, but not as much, and in a more gentler way. Right. So quality for me is the terroir. It's important to have the terroir. It's important to treat and have your vineyard processed and managed in the right way. You know, we don't spray with any kind of chemicals. It's all organic substances we spray with. That's also quality. Why have a great terroir? Why use horses and then use chemicals? So I try to keep through the entire process of what is quality until we pick and we get the grapes to the winery. And then the second part of quality begins. Let's use the right equipment to press. So we work with a very old, what's it called? It's called a cockard. Now I'm brand dropping, but it is called a cockard basket press. It's beautiful. It's 70 years old. It's all got wooden plates at the side. It's got a beautiful wooden lid. It's semi-automatic. That's how it works. Quite noisy, very slow working. So the whole pressing process is so slow. This is a sign of quality again from my point of view, because there's other presses out there, without saying any particular names, but you have a lot of inox presses that just, they spin the grapes around, extracts the juices, extracts sometimes some bitterness from the seed, or extracts a little bit too much of the skin. That's not a quality way of pressing, but it's the way that 90% of the world works.
Right,
you
because
know.
you can only do coca if you do quite small volume. And also you said the very interesting part, like pressing very slowly.
Yes.
And that adds more texture to the juice, right? Because you have a small oxidation of the juice prior to the fermentation then.
That's right.
Which then makes the wine more resilient.
It does.
So we are rounding off this first episode. I want to ask you one last question.
Oh, yeah?
So if you were to give yourself an advice, where you stand today, to your previous self when you started this wine journey, what would you like to give yourself as advice?
Advice? I was going to give myself a medal. No. But honestly, advice would be, I think, I won't say that I've nailed it, but to anybody else that wants to come out of a different industry and wants to go into winemaking, which is a wonderful second life for me, and could be a second life in a big business for another person, please get educated. Take the time, go back to school, get qualified, learn the trades. And before opening up your own winery, go work for someone in that same space.
Fantastic. I think that's a really, really good piece of advice. Thank you so much, Yvonne. This was such a pleasure.
Thank you, Nina.